Everyone, we're back in year 3 of the Dolphins franchise. We're doing the conference championship game against the Cleveland Browns. If you've watched my other videos building up to year 3 and even including year 3 when I've had to play the Browns, it's been a tough game. Year 1 was tight, year 2 got a little bit better, but the Browns are legitimately a tough team to play against in Madden. That's a lot. They got a lot of talent and a lot of skill. I made a fantasy draft. Not tutorial, not manifesto, just shared my thoughts and ideas on it. This fantasy draft for Inside of Madden, not for fantasy football through ESPN or NFL.com or Yahoo or any other provider. Also did trades and identified just fallout from if you do a fantasy draft, what you can expect. Both those videos have been posted. Take a view, take a gander. Maybe it's something you'd never or you hadn't thought of or put value in before. Definitely just take a watch if you have time. If not, if it's not your thing, then don't watch it. It's just that simple. If you're following news around the league or around different football establishments, Big Ten and Pac-12 have canceled their fall football season, are open to spring football. However, they've canceled their fall football season. My thought on the matter is that I understand it. I understand why it was canceled. I think it's the statement is that they're putting the safety of their student athletes first, and I think that is commendable. My thought on it is that if you want to put it first, right, and you're saying, hey, safety has to come first, we can't risk our football players contracting it, they go into a lab or something, then there's an outbreak. I got it. That's smart. That's good business. That's practical. What I would counter with, because ultimately it boils down to money. College football players represent money. If you keep talent when there is a resurgence in football, if you keep Justin Fields, if you keep the offensive tackle from Oregon, he's gotten a decent amount of attention from Todd McShay, and I don't know, Kuiper hasn't chimed in, but I heard Todd McShay hype him up. I don't even remember the guy's name. Oh, that's sad. Poor Blades. Let them transfer. Let the student athletes transfer to conferences. Doesn't have to be Power 5. To conferences that are playing. And I'm sure someone's thought process is, why would you let them transfer? You're going to lose all this talent. They're just going to leave. They're going to leave anyway. If you're Chandler Parsons or Justin Fields, the tape's already there. Chandler Parsons and Justin Fields both, in my opinion, are going to be locked in as first-round draft picks. Might they fall a little bit based off of a lack of tape? Maybe. Why should they be penalized for wanting to go to the NFL, first of all, declaring to go to the NFL, and missing out on a year because of strained triceps keeps you out for the game, and missing out on it because of a decision that's outside of their control. They can't control what the conference does. They can't control what the chancellors do. That's holding. Can't control what the chancellors do. They can't control any of that, and it's a decision that's costing them millions of dollars. The NCAA isn't going to allow it, first of all. I don't see that happening. That's just the reality. The NCAA is going to say, we're going to protect our investment, because that's what college football players are. They're an investment. It's money. So I understand that it's most likely won't happen. However, let's flip this for a second and say that the NCAA actually cares about its student athletes and wants them to be successful, and all the feel-good stuff that the NCAA has been cramming down people's throats for years. Let's just buy that. Then let them transfer. The NCAA decides when the transfer portal is, decides who can transfer, what waivers are allowed to be put in, everything else. That's the NCAA's decision. So, why not? What do you lose? If Chandler Parsons goes to the Sun Belt and just demolishes, if Justin Fields goes to the MAC, the WAC, he goes to a bottom-tier ACC team, is it really that bad? They're gonna leave their schools anyway. They are. You're not gonna tell me for 1 second that Justin Fields, say he puts up another 40 touchdown season, is gonna be like, you know what, I'm gonna come back to Ohio State. I'll forego the millions and millions of dollars to get a degree from Ohio State. Here's the crazy thing. You can finish your degree anywhere. After 5 years in the NFL as a first, second, or third round draft pick, you've made millions. Just finish. Just don't screw up. You don't even have to start. You just have to be on the roster. At the very least, you'll get your signing bonus, which if you're a first-round draft pick, and I would say mid-second round, it's at least $1 million, if not more. So what are we... Why not? Why not let these kids go play at another university in another division? It's up to them. It's their lives. There's a finite number of players that I can actually think of that would, after dominant seasons, that have decided to stay at whatever university they were attending to finish out their 4 years and get their degree. There is such a finite number of players. It's not a common thought process because you're walking away from millions of dollars. To put this in perspective, a first-round draft pick, say you're pick 1 to pick 32, will probably make more in 5 years than what a decent chunk of people will make in their lifetimes. In 5 years, that player is going to be a multi-millionaire, and if they do investments or whatever else, they could that million could turn to 10 mil, 20 mil, 30 mil, 100 mil. It's endless and boundless. At the end of the day, the NCAA is a farm system for the NFL. Period. The NCAA only has to. They don't lose anything by letting these guys go play elsewhere. They don't lose anything. The money's still going to come in. ESPN is still going to play the games. ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, doesn't matter. They're all going to want to play and show those games because it's a commodity. It's sports. We are a culture that loves sports. So let them transfer. Let them go to Arkansas. Let all of these guys just go to one team or multiple teams. Doesn't matter. They're going to talk. People would probably try to go to teams where their buddies are, I would imagine. I don't, And it's not like at Arkansas, there's going to be a lot of competition for Justin Fields or Chandler Parsons. Let these guys transfer. Let them go play. The NCAA has to be smart. It's a good financial decision for everyone. Because at the end of the day, Chandler Parsons will leave Penn State. Period. Justin Fields will leave Ohio State. Period. There's no benefit to the student athlete or to the NCAA by saying, hey, we'll give you another year to stay in. You can come back. It doesn't count towards your eligibility or your ineligibility. You don't have to feel pressured to declare whatever spin it is. It doesn't benefit them. There's no benefit to that. Because if say you're a senior, right, and you've got 1 year left and they give you another year of eligibility. Here's a crazy concept, and you've seen me talk about in Madden. Age plays a factor. There was a dude from the Cleveland Browns. He was a quarterback drafted in like the first round. Dude was like 27, and this was, oh God, what is his name? He was a backup in Dallas. I'll Google it whenever I get the chance. But he had played baseball and then kind of messed up or whatever. Didn't perform. Brandon Weeden. Gosh. So at the end of the day, if he would have finished his rookie deal, I don't think he even finished his rookie deal, but say he did. He's 32 at that point. Are you really making that much money as a 32-year-old quarterback that, I mean, you're still young in terms of football, but is there really that big of a market? Why would I go after a 32-year-old quarterback when a 22-year-old is waiting in the wings for me to draft, or a 21-year-old? I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster was a wide receiver in the league at like 19. He was a multi-millionaire and couldn't even crack a bottle of wine. And the idea that the NCAA is going to be like, oh, it's okay, we'll just give you another year. If I was a student athlete and I'm in a conference that said, hey, we're not playing, but the NCAA will hook you up on the back end, I will flat out, if I've had a dominant year at any point, sophomore, junior, whatever, freshman, whatever, I'll look right at my chancellor, I'll look right at my president and be like, hey, and president of the university, I would be like, hey, that's a bum deal. That's a trash idea. I don't like that. I'm not okay with that. Let me go. Because you can't stay. You can't. You're just losing millions of dollars. And the NFL is going to need talent. They're going to need players. You can't tell me for 1 second that the guys that are opting out of the season, you know, because they want to be with their families, or they don't want their kids to catch it, or their wife, or whatever, or they're tending to ill family members, ill grandparents, parents, whatever, that they're going to be in football shape. They're not. This is a huge opportunity for these guys, for these players that have their conferences or their schools canceling football. This is a huge opportunity for them to make millions of dollars. Why? What is there to gain by not letting these guys go to another school? If you're Arkansas, you're salivating right now. You should be, or at the very least pushing this. Schools in the SEC should be pushing for this. Because at the end of the day, you're not losing anything. You're not. You might have to shell out some more money in tuition and books and whatever else. But the reality, the end-all be-all reality. Say Arkansas, I'm picking on Arkansas, but say a team from the Sun Belt, or the MAC, or the WAC, or Conference USA, and they put together this all-star roster, and they're just mowing. I mean, you gotta let them in, right? You gotta put them in the rankings. You gotta start being like, hey, this might be it. Sure, put an asterisk, be like, hey, this wouldn't have happened except for COVID, whatever. But why not? And to the Big Ten and the Pac-12, your recruiting classes are already pretty much locked in. You've already gone out and gotten these guys from high school to replace these players. There's players on your team that are going to replace them. If not, then what are you doing? I mean, how bad are you at recruiting? Let these guys go. To me, it seems like a no-brainer, and I don't know why the NCAA is so reluctant to just make a decision and say, hey, we'll let you guys go. We will let you guys go, be successful, and play elsewhere, and be involved in other communities with other people. Why not? And for the guys that can't move or don't have transportation, hey, NCAA, provide it. The NCAA has made millions, it has made billions of dollars off of the literal sweat and tears of student athletes, regardless of sport. For the NCAA to be like, well, we can't pay for Justin Fields' plane ticket from Ohio State to Arkansas or Troy or whatever. That's BS, and you know it's BS. It's not a mass exodus. Just only open it up for players that will be eligible for the NFL draft, or even baseball for the MLB draft, soccer, WNBA, whatever. Just open it up to those guys, to those players. Why not? What do you lose? As the NCAA, what do you lose? The money's still going to come into the universities. The university that can play will still make money. The other universities that are saying, hey, we're going to cancel our season for whatever reason, which again, if they're legitimately putting player safety first, I'm on board. But if they're canceling their season, those teams aren't hurting for money. Those universities are not hurting for money. You're not going to tell me that Penn State, and I'll pick on Penn State. I'm a huge Penn State fan. I love the U. I love Penn State. I love multiple colleges. But you can't tell me for 1 second that they're looking at that the chancellor or dean of admissions, whoever's in charge of accounting and money, is looking at that bank account and saying, man, it's almost dry. It's almost at zip. We got to figure something out. If that's the case, you've mismanaged money, and it's going to people's pockets. That's a fact. If these universities are legitimately there to help students graduate and have them get an education, then golly gee, I guess there's probably money there. Because at the end of the day, the guys that are bringing in the money, they never. Oh man, I'm gonna run out of time. They never do. If they do, it's illegal because they're getting it from boosters or friends of family or whatever. But that's such a small percentage. It really is. There's a YouTube series. Oh gosh, I forget what it is. It's like Corrupt in Mississippi. It breaks down guys from Mississippi State and Ole Miss that knowingly took money. They took money from boosters or friends of family or whatever else, and we're talking about a couple thousand, like maybe $5 grand, $10 grand, just to sign someplace. The jersey sales alone. Say Trevor Lawrence got paid, right? Say he got paid to go to Clemson. I'm not saying he did. I'm saying hypothetically. Say hypothetically he got paid to go to Clemson. How much would Trevor Lawrence coming out of high school really be worth? 10 grand, 20 grand? Trevor Lawrence jerseys, and they're not Trevor Lawrence jerseys because they don't put Lawrence on the back, or they'll just do the number, whatever. Trevor Lawrence's jersey. Don't make mistakes. If you were wearing I don't know what number Trevor Lawrence is at Clemson, but if you were wearing that number last season or the year before, you were supporting Trevor Lawrence. You were saying, hey, that's my dude, that's my quarterback. He doesn't get money for it. He can't. So where does that money go? Back to the university. What? These colleges aren't hurting for money. Maybe smaller schools, okay, I would maybe buy that, but they have their own spots where you can buy. I'm sure Troy and Shippensburg and lower tiered South Dakota State, North Dakota State, they have spots where you can buy their sweatshirts and their lanyards and the key fobs or whatever else. They have spots solely designed for that. They're not hurting for money. Let these guys go. Let them go. Let them go. Let them go make their money. The NCAA has been exploiting these student athletes for literally years, decades, since the inception. Let these guys go. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing improper about it. You can't say that you're going to protect the student athlete, but then impede them from becoming millionaires. So you only benefit the student athletes when they're still in your system, when they're still a part of your collegiate system, then you supposedly support them. But the absolute minute that they want to try to better themselves by taking their athletic potential, their athletic gifts, to make money off it, the NCAA says, "Oh, yeah, we're not a fan of that." You don't get to have your cake and eat it too, or eat your cake and have it too, depending on how you want to use that wording or verbiage or the phraseology. That's not how that. Why NCAA? Just let them play. Let these kids play the game that they love. Let these guys make millions of dollars off of the sweat and the tears and whatever else off of the game they love. I understand some universities can't let their players transfer. I understand. And I'm specifically talking about the military colleges, West Point, Annapolis, Air Force. I got it. They can't go anywhere. I understand that, and I feel for them. But at the end of the day, those guys lock in being an 0-1 in whatever branch that they're going to. If football doesn't work out for them, they've got another shot. They can do that. Oh, and by the way, for anyone that's like, well, they're putting country first and whatnot, they can leave. If they're all the way until their junior year, those guys can leave and go to whatever other university. There's nothing. You just say, hey, I don't want to do this. Ships scare me. Bullets scare me. Aircraft scare me. Whatever. Eagles scare me if you're a part of the air. Aww. Or Falcons, whatever the Air Force's mascot is. You know, and they'll let you go. Now, once you're I think it's at the beginning of your junior year that you have to sign stuff, and then, all right, yeah, cool, you can't go anywhere. But come on, there isn't a Roger Staubach that's sitting there at West Point like, hey, I'm slinging this thing all over the place. Someone's gonna come get me. That's not happening. But except for those schools, let them go. Let them go. If the quarterback at Princeton says, hey, I want to go be great in the NFL, let him. If UConn cancels their basketball season, their women's basketball season, hey, let them go play someplace else. You're costing your student athletes, the same student athletes that the NCAA was created to protect, you're costing them millions of dollars by mismanagement and knee-jerk reactions. That's not fair. That's not fair to these players at all. And I don't like it. I'm not okay with it. As a fan, I'm not okay with it. I think they should be allowed. Oh, I gotta go. Dang it. That's not what I wanted to do. But oh well. That's fine. But let them go play. Let these kids play. Because that's what they are. They're still kids. And if they don't make it to the next level, they don't make it to the Major League Baseball, to the MLB, or the NCAA, Jesus, to the MLB, the NFL, the NBA, the WNBA, whatever. If they don't make it there, that's fine. But they tried. They got to put together the best film that they thought they could put together and put their skills on show. Let them do it. Just let them. I think I took up a good 30 minutes on that subject. But it's baffling. It baffles me. Because it's just 1 year. What if fall 21 COVID is still a thing? What are you going to do then? Like, seriously, what are you going to do? NCAA, please, just tell me. I would love to hear what the NCAA is going to do if COVID lasts into fall 2021. What are you going to do? You going to be like, hey, no one can graduate, or you have to graduate? Come on. Come off it. Like, hey, you can only leave Ohio State with a degree. Well, huh. Fun fact, I don't have to do that. And if the NCAA would do something like that, watch student athletes drop. Watch them drop out. Because they've completed their eligibility. All they've done is just tack on years to the back, and they're eligible. I mean, what? Just let these kids go enjoy the game. Just let them go enjoy it. Let them go play. I just... It irks me. It really does irk me. And if you haven't seen the YouTube series, it's like six episodes or 6 parts, whatever it's broken down into. And it's about 30 to 40 minutes per. It's worth a watch. Whoever your team is, whatever college you love, it should change the way you look at them. It should change the way you look at college athletics. And it's not just football. It's focused on football, but it's other sports too. And it essentially breaks down how players that are coming out of high school, and if they're that are seniors, maybe it happens if they're juniors, but mostly it's seniors, that there are people put in contact with these kids. If you're mom and dad and you're a kid in high school, and if they're bringing in 6 figures a year, you might not get a whole lot of money. You could, but it's the kids that need money. They're preying on these kids to get them, giving them money, and knowing that what's a kid gonna do? If they say, hey, yeah, I took money, can I not throw on the run? Okay. If they fess up and say, yeah, I took money from this school, from this university that I'm currently playing at, they lose eligibility. So then they lose a year, and you end up with, so they can't tell anyone. It's I look at college athletics as everyone wants to point to corruption in the government or political parties or the governor, the mayor, the whatever. College football is probably the most corrupt thing. College athletics, I'll remove football from it. College athletics as a whole is probably the most corrupt thing in the United States of America. Period. Because the concept that it's founded on, the concept that the NCAA is founded on, of protection and we care for the student athletes, it's such a lie. It is such a lie. And it's I feel so bad for the student athletes that who's the guy from there's a guy from Rutgers that on like a kickoff busted his neck, and he was in a like Gunther, Leroy Gunther, something like that. busted his neck and was if not a quadriplegic, at the very least paraplegic. What? His life was permanently altered, and the NCAA. It was a nice story for Rutgers because like the next year he came back and whatever else. His life was forever changed at the age of 19 or 20, maybe 18, whatever, because of a game. And the NCAA said, yeah, sucks to pretty much. There wasn't an official statement or anything like this, but more or less the way the NCAA acted was, yeah, dude, it sucks to suck. Should have had insurance. We'll make a grant or name a wing after you at Rutgers, but get the fuck out. That's savage. This kid can't walk. This kid doesn't have a normal life in here. That if you're in baseball and thinking of guys like Stanton that took a fastball to the mouth and shattered his orbital bone, his jaw, and it missed, and it had teeth busted out, I think, or it might have just been a busted jaw and a busted orbital bone. But these sports, these games can forever change your life. For some for the good, but some for the bad. And the NCAA does a horrible job at protecting its student athletes because when stuff goes wrong, the NCAA, which is run by lawyers and businessmen and women, I'll throw the caveat in there. They're gonna CYA. They're gonna cover their asses. And these kids and their families, their parents or whatever, they don't have the resources to actually fight. You're not going to get enough pro bono lawyers and a good enough team to take down the NCAA if something actually happens. Because the NCAA is smart enough, and I would wager that in your scholarship or in the letter or whatever else, you're signing something that says, hey, BT Dubs, if I get hurt, or each year they're putting in, because the kids are 18, and you put something in front of a kid that's 18, they probably sign it. Saying, hey, by the way, if something happens to me, I'm not going to sue. What about that seems okay? What about that? If you get hurt on the job, whatever job or profession it is, you should have workman's comp. If a teacher blows out his or her back lifting up a box or whatever, there should be compensation, right? You know, if a service member dies in the line of duty, there's compensation for their families. I'm not saying that student athletes are in that same realm, but these guys bring in millions or billions of dollars to the NCAA, and there's no protection for them. There's nothing. If you think guys that came from areas that might not have even had something as basic as running water or electricity because you couldn't afford it, what makes you think for 1 second or one fraction of a second that they're gonna have the money to fight in legal battles? What makes you think that? These kids are being taken advantage of day after day and year after year, and now there's a point in time where the NCAA can say, hey, we'll help you. And I guarantee you, I think it's August 11th right now, and I guarantee you that NCAA isn't going to do jack. NCAA would be like, well, you decided it's August 12th, I'm sorry. The NCAA will say, hey, sucks to suck. You shouldn't have signed the letter to go to Ohio State or Penn State. You shouldn't have signed the letter to go to UCLA or USC. You shouldn't have signed the letter to go to Oregon or any other school or place that cancels their whatever season. You shouldn't have signed that letter. Or if you maybe that's not exactly their attitude, you should have read the fine print. It's okay, bud. Like, what are we doing as a sports culture? What are we doing to help these kids? We can't help them, because if I'm affiliated with Penn State in any way, shape, or form, or if I'm a recognized booster, and the term booster is loosely defined, because as you recall, the CEO of, I want to say, Under Armour is Under Armour or Nike, I think it's Under Armour, is an Oregon alum, and buying them uniforms is an improper benefit. So you have to literally be someone that's not affiliated with a university, I would assume not a fan, because depending on what it is, if the NCAA really wants to go after these kids, they will, and say, hey, I'll help you. Here is some money. There's no strings attached. You know? And even then, that might not be the best thing for these kids. I want the NCAA to let these student athletes go play and go beat, please, and go play and go be successful at the next level. Enable them to do that. Enable them to help their families and help their livelihoods and become these great members of society and do all the things that the NCAA likes to brag about. Frick. That's going to be the end of the game. Yep. Oh well. But let them do it. Let them do it. Why not? Why not? Give me a legitimate reason, a serious reason why it's a bad idea. Because the only people it hurts are the student athletes that are trying to make money. It doesn't hurt the fans. Penn State doesn't have a football season. I'm not watching Penn State. I have to watch SEC or ACC or Sun Belt or whoever. MAC, WAC, Conference USA. I have to find something else to watch. So fine. It's not hurting the fans of those universities. It's not hurting the diehard fans of the players. It's not. It's just hurting the student athletes. Those are the only people it's hurting, and it's not okay. It's not acceptable. Because to say it's acceptable, if I would have that attitude, I am being complacent in the problem. I'm not pointing out and saying, hey, these guys have put their lives and their livelihoods on the line for years. Some of them since elementary school, since they were like 3 or 4. Let them play. Let them go be great. That's about all I'm not going to keep talking about because it's not. I'll be sure to revisit this video in a couple months I'll be sure to revisit this video if I ever find faith or begin to believe the crap that the NCAA puts out. Ooh, weekly awards. Offense and defense. Hey, must be the money. If you want to... Oh, I'm playing the Seahawks. All right. Ooh, Pro Bowl roster. Let's see. Mayfield, Jackson, Watson. I'm sorry, what? Seriously? I don't get it. I don't understand why. What do I have to do to get... If someone knows how I get players from my team onto the Pro Bowl roster, please tell me how. Please comment and tell me what it is I have to do. Because it's not leading in statistical categories, because I've done that. It's not winning overall, because I've done that. It's not winning multiple Super Bowls, because I've done that. I don't get it. I've got a Pro Bowl team. You could take my entire roster, stack them, or slap them on the Pro Bowl, and they're set. Maybe it pulls players that aren't in. Let me see if there's someone from the Seahawks, and then I'll throttle back if there's someone from the Seahawks, or if there's not someone from the Seahawks. And maybe that's part of the issue. More? No, that's probably DJ. Okay, yeah. If you have, it pulls players if you're in the Super Bowl. Okay, I think that's what it does. I am a little bit calmer. So I'm gonna end this video. I'll do all the player upgrades, the weekly training, the scouting. I'll do all that before. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to my rant about the NCAA. Regardless of what your feelings or opinions are, please comment them. Let me know. Maybe my view is just skewed. Maybe I'm not reading enough or educating myself enough on the matter, and I'm just speaking. I'm just shooting from the hip, and it's not accurate. Please let me know. Please comment. Thank you for watching. Be sure to watch the next one if you want to watch the Super Bowl. If not, then just thank you for watching this video.